Toronto or maybe Ottawa or places like that around Canada, where do you think metal's gone in those cities? I mean, it's the community has kind of died out. What's your opinion on it?
Well, I've been in the Toronto scene, the underground, just the local band scene for a long, long time. I remember going back like almost 15 years now. I remember going to a lot of local shows. It's gone nowhere.
Yeah.
It's still exactly where it was. I mean, it's still there. Mind you, if you go to like Montreal or something like that, a local band could, like Cryptopsy, for example, years ago. They're playing. They're a local Montreal band. They're playing to 1,000 people some nights. You know what I mean? In Toronto, you're gonna get that for a local band? I don't think so. You know what I mean? Certain bands can pull a little bit more people, but the Toronto local scene's always been very, very weak. Mind you, the scene is good. Like, I mean, you go to see a band like Cannibal Corpse is playing, it's going to be sold out. We're getting a lot of the top tours are coming into the city. But for the local crowd, it's always been pretty weak.
Yeah.
Mind you, it's not a nice thing to say. I think the quality of the bands, for some reason, in Toronto has always been a little bit subpar.
Yeah.
Especially the amount of people we have here. There's no real explanation for it, but the quality's been a little bit low, and in turn, the attendance is a little bit low, but it's still positive. A lot of up and coming bands are coming up. You know what I mean? Trying to do good things, do shows. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the older bands are still around. Horde of Worms is still around. Who else? Nightmare's coming back. If you remember Nightmare, they're like from the early 90s, late 80s or something like that. They're still plugging away, man.
Mm-hmm.
You get some musicians, it doesn't matter how old they are. That's what they do, man. They play guitar, they play in bands.
Fans in Toronto, or metal audiences in Toronto, would you say are oversaturated with music?
My opinion of what's going on and is that these bigger metal bands, the prices now for these shows have gone up so much.
They have gone high. They are high, yeah.
Because I remember when I was younger, and now I don't go to shows that often because it costs money for food, travel, parking, whatever, or
also your home life too.
Yeah, and a lot of things, right? But when I was younger, it's like if I went to a show, I had to budget my shows. I want to go to so many metal shows. Now with the metal shows that are more popular happening, the prices being so high, these a lot of them are teenagers are like, well, I only have this much money because they work either jobs that don't make much money or they get an allowance. So now they're spending, X number of dollars on this band coming here, and now the smaller shows are like, oh, it's a $10 show. I don't even know the bands, so they don't give the bands a chance. And I think that's
true too.
I think that's a big part. But promotion is a huge thing. I know personally that these small shows that don't have large bands are promoted terribly. I think if they were promoted and people went on a little bit of a limb, invest a bit more to get the better quality flyers, to know where to hit, what areas to saturate with advertisements, you get a lot more turnout because you see these crappy little photocopied flyers and they look like shit.
No one cares about that.
Spend money on a glossy color one and you might get some more people at the show. I mean, that's just an idea.
There's really no excuse for there being a shitty turnout at a Toronto show when you got, let's say you just got 3 local bands playing, If every member of each band made sure they had 2 friends come down, you know what I mean? There's close to 50 people already right there, you know what I mean? Plus some people want to check out the show, you know what I mean? I always liked going to the local shows as well because, it was like $5-10 and good to see a few bands, have a few beers, have some fun, you know what I mean? I always enjoyed it, but the bigger shows, like the prices are astronomical now.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Roland wanted to see Immortal. He went to see Immortal. They're doing like 4 exclusive dates, whoop-de-doo, and they're charging like $60 a ticket for fucking Immortal. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? And it is oversaturated, the market, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many gigs going on everywhere. But at the same time, a lot of these shows are getting crazy attendance. So as long as the people are going to shell out the coin, they're going to start, keep jacking up the prices. Like, if I'm going to see Cannibal Corpse, like, there's $35 for the ticket. I want to buy a shirt. Let's say there's, like, $20 to $30. A couple beers, my gas to get down to the venue, park, or the TTC, whatever.
It's an expensive night.
You're spending $100 just going to a club one night. Yeah. Mind you, I'm having a killer time, but it's not right, man.
No, it's too much.
Not right.
Yeah,
there's too many people getting their fingers in all this stuff, and it takes the underground element out. And you know what I mean? Like, what happened in the old days when you could see a band like Cannibal Corpse play at the Operas for $15?
Yeah, I know.
And there'd be like maybe 300 to 600 people show up. and you have a brutal night. I don't want to spend $100 on going to a show. I want to go see Obituary, for example, the show coming up. You know, I want to see Marauder. I haven't seen Entombed in 10 years, and I love Obituary.
Yeah.
Do I want to spend $40 with the Ticketmaster service charge, and then maybe I want to get an Obituary shirt, and I want to have a few drinks and enjoy myself one night? You know, I'm not. You know,
Yeah.
money's not like. You know, something
Music's
you just
now
piss
turned into
away.
a capitalist enterprise.
Yeah, it's like.
I like to go crazy once a year, and that's this year, Maryland Death Fest. Now prices, it used to be $50 for 2
Yes,
days.
it used
Now
to be
it's 3
$50.
days for $140. And
Wow.
it's like the price has gone up a lot. I end up dumping about $300 usually on merch and CDs when I go down
Hotel, gas to get down there,
Yeah.
buying merch. It's
there.
it's insane.
It's a big
man.
thing, but at the same time, I'm not the type of guy that goes to Puerto Rico or Cuba. I don't go to any of those places. I don't do the get my feet in the sand thing. I'd rather go to a metal show once a year, see like 30 bands, and spend a ton of cash. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my thing. So I see a lot of value in this. I don't mind spending the money, but at the same time, the inflation. You know, it's like now you have huge attendances and huge audiences, and you're still cranking up the price. You know. So and then I mean that's a perfect example of how once people realize there's a market and money there, sometimes they take it a little too far.
Yeah. So now that metal's become a lot more popular in the entire world,
Definitely has.
big
Definitely
businesses are realizing there's some money to be made from this. So
Yeah.
just of all the reasons you just stated right now, you're paying a lot more than you used to, not even just 5, but 10 years ago as well.
Metal's definitely a lot more popular now than it was 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, like, alternative was a big thing. Metal was, like, uncool back when they kicked out the whole 80s glam rock thing. My personal opinion, metal took a big downturn there in terms of popularity. It just wasn't cool, man. You know,
Yeah.
but we're still, when I was in high school, we were listening to Danzig, you know, Deicide, you know, all the heavy shit, Carcass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we were kind of like the outcasts, and the way I see metal now, you know, you got these huge bands like Cannibal's fucking huge, you know,
Yeah.
Arch Enemy and all these big bands, you know what I mean? Doing these Ozfest, you know, all these big Rockstar Mayhem Fest. Mind you, it's not all underground stuff, but you know, it's got the metal moniker on there now,
Yeah.
and you know, thousands of people are showing up. You know what I mean? Metal's cool again.
Why is it core and not gore?
Why is it core and why is it not gore?
What is? Can you expand that question? Because it's
No, it's
Yeah.
gore, not core.
Gore, not core?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Well, I guess to expand on that would be is why are all the core bands so popular nowadays, like metalcore, deathcore, and
Grindcore.
applecore, and all that crap, and why is other sort of cores, or I mean,
Like
gore,
gore
music, sort of fallen by the wayside?
if you're talking about gore, I'll tell you exactly why. A lot of the bands that have pitch shifted vocals suck. These guys throw a song together in 2 seconds. They can barely play guitar, and they use a drum machine, and it sounds like garbage. A lot of the vocals, I used to collect those kind of ones just to hear the vocals, because the vocals would be amazing. But I can't even listen to it now. It's like 70 tracks on a CD that sound like garbage with some amazing vocal effects. And then you have the odd band that knows how to use vocal effects to make it sound good, like Corona Bard, CBT, Last Days of Humanity. They can make you know, the vocal, the pitch shifted vocals sound really good, but for the most part, the gore scene, it's just like anyone with a vocal pedal will say, "Oh, I'm gore now," and then they'll just have a one-man project that sounds like shit, and they have gore vocals on it. And there's a lot of that. It's oversaturated in the gore scene. There's so much DIY garbage, and that's, I think, why people don't, they're like, "Oh, gore grind." Like, I don't want to have to sift through all that crap to find the good stuff. So I think that's probably why the gore thing's not catching on. I mean, I know for me, that's why I kind of got lazy and sifting through it, because I was so tired of wasting energy on all these bad bands before I'd find a good one. And now, I mean, if a good one comes my way, it's great, but it's I think it kind of killed itself by having too many people try to jump on the bandwagon. And then there's a lot of bands that would play brutal death metal and say have a slightly gore vocal or not even a gore vocal, and then market themselves as gore grind.
Yeah.
So, you know, people going out looking for gore grind, now they're listening to brutal death, they're going, this isn't much different than brutal death, so what's the big deal? And then they kind of drop the whole gore grind thing. You know.
I get you.
I don't really know, like, this whole metalcore thing, what it is, or it just goes right over my head. Like, the only metalcore that I knew was like bands like SOD and, like, you know, the kind of crossover hardcore, you know, thrash kind of metal. To me, that was metalcore.
Yeah.
And now you got, like, I don't know, like Killswitch Engage or stuff like that. They're calling it metalcore, and these deathcore bands. It's just like,
They're a
don't
mainstay
know.
of the industry right now. They're
That's
the
great.
money-making, bankable
new,
bands of metal.
New styles are going to come up and
Yeah.
this and that, but just never really caught on with it. I didn't like that whole kind of little bit of a mix, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except for the old school ones like DRI and SOD, that kind of thing. But for me, it's just I like the purity in the music.
Yeah.
Like, of course, you don't need labels, but like a real brutal death metal band, like a band like Deicide or like Morbid Angel, they're death metal mainstays. You know what I mean? They shaped the genre,
And they still last. Deicide, I think they're probably loved more now than they have been in the past.
They're a classic. You know what I mean? I like the band like Bolt Thrower. They're just purity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pure death metal. They don't give a shit what's going on. They know what they do. Stuff like that. Band like Slayer. You know what I mean? They've been doing the same shit since